Imagine this. You're walking alone. Perhaps it's a quiet country lane, the air still and heavy. Maybe it's a city street long after the last bus has passed, the distant hum of traffic replaced by an unnatural hush. You feel it before you see it, a sudden drop in temperature, a prickling sensation on the back of your neck. The world around you seems to hold its breath. Then, out of the corner of your eye, a shadow coalesces. It's huge, impossibly so, low to the ground, moving with a silent, heavy grace that defies physics. Its fur, if it even is fur, drinks the light, making it a void against the dimness. But then it turns its head, and you see them, 2 points of light burning like embers in the profound darkness of its face, red, or sometimes a searing, unnatural yellow. Across centuries, across continents, in dusty old texts and chilling modern eyewitness accounts, people describe the same thing, the same impossible silent beast, and always, always with the same terrifying warning. Because to see it, to truly encounter one of these creatures, it's not just a frightening experience. It means something profoundly terrible is about to happen. Your life, or the life of someone you love, is about to be irrevocably altered. A tragedy, a death. Why does this specific entity, this dark canine, appear at the precipice of human suffering? We're going to chase that shadow tonight. We're going to dig into the ancient folklore and the chilling contemporary reports. And by the end, you'll understand why these aren't just campfire tales. You'll understand the true nature of these night walkers and why their appearance has been a harbinger of doom for generations. Welcome to the Unveiled Darkness podcast. I'm your host, and if you're new here, this is the place where we go deep into the stories that don't quite add up, the cases that got buried, the legends that refuse to die, and the darkness that keeps finding its way back to the surface. If that sounds like your kind of night, hit subscribe and make yourself comfortable. We're just getting started. Now, where were we? Our journey begins not in the modern age, but in the deep, shadowed past. Long before electric lights pushed back the night, before the drone of the internet filled every silence, humanity lived closer to the land and closer to the encroaching darkness. It was a world where unexplained phenomena were often attributed to the supernatural, where spirits and creatures of myth walked hand in hand with mortals. And among the most persistent, the most chilling of these spectral beings was the black dog. Not just a dog, mind you, but the black dog, a creature of pure, unadulterated omen. For centuries, across the British Isles, tales have been whispered of immense phantom canines. They stalk lonely roads, haunt ancient churchyards, and lurk in the desolate wilderness. These aren't the friendly guardians of the hearth. They are something else entirely, something ancient and predatory. The descriptions are remarkably consistent. Massive in size, often described as larger than any known breed of dog. Its coat is said to be as black as pitch, sometimes shaggy, sometimes sleek, but always absorbing light rather than reflecting it. And those eyes, always those eyes, burning like coals or glowing with an internal hellish light, red, gold, sometimes even green. They are typically silent, their footsteps making no sound even on crunching gravel or rustling leaves. This unnatural stillness is often the first true indicator that what you're seeing is not of this world. It glides rather than walks, like a shadow made solid. Sometimes it's a fleeting glimpse, a momentary shape at the edge of your vision that vanishes when you turn to face it.
Other times, it confronts you directly, blocking your path, its glowing eyes fixed upon you, filling you with an inexplicable dread. This isn't just fear, it's a profound, soul-deep terror that whispers of your own mortality. What connects these disparate tales, from isolated hamlets in England to remote Scottish glens and even beyond? Why this specific terrifying form? This is our first great question. Is it a shared cultural fear or something far more tangible, a recurring entity that merely adopts a familiar form to us? The legend of the black dog isn't confined to Britain either. Similar entities appear in folklore across Europe, from the Dip of Catalonia, a vampire-like black dog, to the Garm of Norse mythology, a monstrous dog guarding the gates of hell. These aren't exact parallels, but they share that fundamental chilling core, a dark, monstrous canine tied to death, the underworld, or ill omen. In some traditions, these spectral hounds are thought to be the companions of the wild hunt, an ethereal chase led by supernatural figures across the night sky, sweeping up souls and bringing chaos. In others, they are solitary guardians or malevolent spirits themselves, tied to specific cursed places. But always, their presence carries a weight, a premonition, a dark purpose. They are the harbingers, the messengers from the other side, or perhaps the very agents of fate itself. Their appearance is rarely benign. It is almost always a sign, and that sign is almost always terrible. To truly grasp the weight of these legends, we need to look at specific documented cases, not just campfire stories, but incidents that became part of historical record, etched into the collective memory of communities. And few cases are as chilling or as definitive as the legendary events of August 4th, 1577 in East Anglia, England. This is where the infamous Black Shuck truly makes its mark. The name Shuck itself is derived from the Old English word shuka or sheaka, meaning demon or devil, and that's precisely what witnesses claimed to have encountered. On that fateful Sunday, a ferocious thunderstorm raged across the region. Lightning split the sky, thunder rattled windows, and the heavens unleashed a torrent of rain. People sought refuge in their churches, believing themselves safe within the consecrated walls. They were wrong. First, in the small town of Bungay, during a morning service at St. Mary's Church, a colossal black dog, described as like to a lion in greatness and to a mastiff in shape, burst through the church doors. The air was said to have filled with the smell of sulfur and burning hair. It ran wildly through the congregation, past the frightened parishioners. Accounts state it killed 2 people and injured a third, before vanishing as suddenly as it appeared. The victims, a man and a boy, were said to have died from having their necks broken. Their bodies bore no other marks, save for the distinct, unexplainable scorch marks on their skin, as if touched by something supernaturally hot. But the horror didn't end there. Later that same day, approximately 12 miles away, in the Church of Holy Trinity in Blythburgh, a near-identical event unfolded. Amidst another violent thunderstorm, the Black Shuck again appeared. It ran down the aisle, attacked and killed 2 parishioners, a man and a woman, before again vanishing, leaving behind the same lingering smell and eerie scorch marks. The sheer impossibility of these events, an animal appearing within a locked church during a terrifying storm, committing acts of impossible violence, and then vanishing without a trace, solidified the legend.
People believed they had witnessed a manifestation of the devil himself, or at the very least, a demon hound sent from hell. What's truly disturbing is the consistency. Not just the physical description of the beast, but the specific details of its actions, the aftermath, the smell, the scorch marks. Were these just mass hysteria, amplified by the terror of a storm and religious fervor? Or something far more coordinated, a malicious entity that deliberately targeted places of worship, leaving a trail of impossible death in its wake? This remains our second enduring curiosity loop. These weren't isolated incidents, whispered only in hushed tones. They were recorded by clergymen of the time, such as Abraham Fleming, who published an account titled A Strange and Terrible Wonder in 1577, detailing the terrifying events. The stories of the Black Shuck became deeply embedded in the local folklore, a stark warning passed down through generations. The very doors of Bungay Church still bear scorch marks, said to be from the beast's claws as it left. Whether these marks are genuinely from 1577 or later embellishments is debatable, but the fact that the legend is strong enough to prompt such physical attributions speaks volumes about its power. The scars on the church itself are a testament to the scar on the community's psyche. The chilling message was clear: no place was safe, not even consecrated ground. The Black Shuck was an entity of pure, unadulterated menace, a physical manifestation of dread that could appear anywhere at any time, bringing death and destruction in its wake. This was more than just a ghost story. It was an active threat, a looming shadow over the lives of those who believed. The Black Shuck is arguably the most famous example, but it is far from unique.
As we move beyond the specific horror of East Anglia, we uncover a tapestry of similar canine specters woven into the very fabric of regional folklore across the British Isles. Each with their own name, their own subtle variations, but all sharing that core ominous characteristic. In Yorkshire, you might encounter Padfoot or Barghest. Padfoot, sometimes described as having large, luminous eyes and dragging chains, often accompanies solitary travelers, its presence a clear omen of coming death or misfortune. The Barghest is another fearsome variation, sometimes appearing as a monstrous dog, other times as a bear or a bull, always a herald of death. Its howls are said to bring terror, and to hear them is to know your time is short. Across the border in Wales, we find the Cwn Anwen, the Hounds of Anwen, sometimes known as the Hounds of Hell. These are typically described as pure white with blood-red ears, although some accounts describe them as black. They are the spectral hunting dogs of Erin, the king of the Welsh underworld, and they are said to hunt the souls of the dead. Their baying, a sound that chills to the bone, is an omen of death, and anyone who hears it clearly is said to be doomed. These aren't just local superstitions, they are deeply ingrained beliefs, tales that shape perceptions of the natural world and the unseen forces at play within it. What's truly fascinating is how these different regions, often with limited communication in ancient times, developed such similar lore. It begs the question, are these cultural variations on a universal archetype or distinct manifestations of the same underlying phenomenon adapting to local beliefs? The consistency of the descriptions remains staggering. The immense size, the silent movement, the glowing eyes, the profound sense of cold that often accompanies their presence, as if the air itself is drained of warmth. Some describe a faint acrid smell, like ozone or sulfur, lingering in their wake.
And always that overwhelming feeling of despair and dread. These entities are more than just frightening animals. They are psychopomps, guides, or escorts for the newly deceased, or worse, their hunters. They stand at the liminal threshold between life and death, appearing when that boundary is about to be crossed. Are you still with me? Because it gets stranger. If these are death omens, are they merely harbingers, passive observers of fate? Or are they actively involved in the process, agents of the unseen, perhaps even causing the misfortune they portend? And why dogs? Why this specific familiar animal twisted into a monstrous form? These are our third and fourth curiosity loops. The answers, if they exist, are deeply unsettling. In many instances, the black dog is observed prior to a fatal accident, a sudden illness, or a violent crime. It's often seen by one person who then tries to alert others, only for the creature to vanish, leaving only the witness to grapple with the profound unease and the chilling premonition. The solitary nature of these sightings often adds to the psychological terror. It's a warning meant specifically for you, a message from the encroaching darkness. We've delved into ancient history and regional folklore, but the chilling truth is that these encounters are not confined to the past. The black dogs, the nightwalkers, they are still seen today. Modern sightings, reported by rational people with no prior belief in such things, continue to surface. And often, these contemporary accounts echo the ancient fears with terrifying precision. Consider the countless reports from drivers on desolate roads late at night, the sudden appearance of a massive, dark shape in their headlights, too large for any normal dog, moving with an impossible speed or gliding unnaturally across the road, only to disappear into thin air. Many report swerving to avoid it, only to find nothing there when they pull over, their hearts pounding. But sometimes it's more direct, more intimate. Let's talk about the story of Michael from rural Ohio a few years ago. Michael wasn't one for ghost stories, a practical, no-nonsense farmer. He was closing up his barn one unusually cold evening in late October. The air was still, the kind of stillness that feels unnatural, like the world is holding its breath. He walked out, his breath pluming white, and stopped dead.
Standing by the rusted gate that led to his fields, almost perfectly silhouetted against the dim twilight, was a dog. No, not a dog. This thing was enormous. Taller than his waist, broad-chested, its head unnaturally large. Its coat was the deepest black he'd ever seen, not reflecting any of the meek light. And its eyes, he said they glowed like amber streetlights in the dark. It made no sound, didn't growl, didn't bark, just stood there, utterly motionless, staring directly at him. Michael said a cold dread washed over him, a sense of absolute wrongness. He felt as if he was looking at something ancient, something fundamentally evil. He slowly backed away, heart pounding in his chest, fumbling for his phone, desperate to call someone, anyone. But he never looked away from those eyes. When he finally reached the safety of his porch light, he risked a glance back. It was gone. Not a sound. Not a trace. The gate was still closed. Michael didn't sleep that night. He felt a pervasive sense of unease, a coldness that clung to him. The next morning, his younger brother, who lived on the next farm over, was found dead in his bed. A sudden, unexpected heart attack. Michael has never spoken of the incident again, except to his wife, in hushed, terrified tones. He believes what he saw was an omen. A personal warning.
Here's what we know so far. These entities, often manifesting as immense black canines with glowing eyes, have been reported for centuries across various cultures, particularly in the British Isles, but also echoing in other global mythologies. They are consistently described as silent, unnatural, and their appearance is almost always linked to impending death, disaster, or significant misfortune. The Bungay and Blythburgh incidents of 1577 provide historical, chilling accounts of their deadly potential. And critically, these sightings continue, reaching into the present day, leaving witnesses shaken and haunted by a profound sense of premonition. What happens when someone survives an encounter? What invisible marks do they carry beyond the memory? Our fifth curiosity loop suggests that simply seeing one of these entities might be enough to forever alter a person's life, even if the direct tragedy befalls another. The dread these creatures inspire is not merely the fear of a large animal. It is the existential dread of facing something that defies natural law, something that stands as a silent sentinel to your fate. It's the creeping realization that there are forces at play in the world that we simply cannot comprehend, forces that decide, or at least predict, our end. The terrifying part is when the encounter doesn't just pass, when it lingers, when the entity seems to acknowledge you, to watch you. That's when the terror truly escalates. We need to dive deeper into that lingering fear, that profound sense of being hunted. The most terrifying encounters aren't quick flashes in the night. They are drawn-out affairs, moments when the veil between worlds seems too thin to translucent, and you are left exposed to something truly ancient and malevolent. This isn't about a jump scare. It's about the slow, agonizing build of dread, the understanding that you are not alone and the entity watching you is not benign. Imagine yourself in a scenario like this. It's deep winter. The sun set hours ago, leaving the countryside swallowed by a freezing, inky blackness. You're driving home, late, on a winding, unlit back road, the kind of road where phone signal dies and the nearest town is miles behind you. Suddenly, your engine sputters, then dies. The dashboard lights wink out. You coast to a stop, enveloped by an absolute, suffocating silence. You try the ignition. Nothing. You try again. Just a sickening click. The silence presses in, punctuated only by the creak of the cooling engine and your own ragged breath. You reach for your phone, but it's dead, or has no signal. You're truly alone. The cold starts to seep into the car. You consider walking, but the darkness outside feels different, thicker, as if it has texture. You fumble for the flashlight in your glove compartment, click it on. The weak beam cuts a pathetic swath through the gloom. That's when you feel it, that unmistakable sensation of being watched. Not from the front or the side,
but from directly behind you, outside the rear window. You hesitate. Every instinct screams at you not to look. Your heart is a drum against your ribs. Slowly, painfully, you turn your head. Your breath catches. There it is, less than 5 feet from your rear bumper, standing perfectly still, a colossal black mass that defies logical scale. It seems to soak up the moonlight, an absolute void in the landscape. Too big for a wolf, too silent for a bear. And then it lifts its head slightly. Your flashlight beam, almost involuntarily, flickers towards it, and you see them. 2 immense, burning orbs of a sickly, pulsing yellow. They aren't just glowing, they seem to actively radiate a malevolence that chills you to your very bones. It's not growling, it's not moving towards you, it's just observing.
Waiting, as if studying your fear. The silence is broken only by the frantic beat of your own heart. Time stretches, distorting into an eternity of terror. You try to scream, but your throat is locked. The feeling isn't just fear of being attacked. It's a crushing, overwhelming sense of despair. A deep, cold certainty that something truly awful is about to unfold, and you are utterly powerless to stop it. This creature isn't just a physical threat. It's a psychological assault, a herald of your deepest anxieties. It knows you. It knows what's coming. And then, without a sound, it turns its head, slowly, deliberately, and simply melts back into the darkness. Not walking away, not running, but dissolving as if it was never quite solid to begin with. The yellow eyes are the last thing to fade, lingering in your mind's eye. The engine catches on the first try after it vanishes. The car starts, the lights blaze on. You drive away, heart still hammering, not daring to look in the rearview mirror. You survived the encounter, but the question remains, was the entity looking for something or just waiting? Waiting for you? Our 5th curiosity loop suggests a more active, deliberate presence than mere omen. And what did it leave behind? The knowledge that it was there, and the terrifying implication of why. The man in the car, let's call him David, drove for what felt like hours, not knowing where he was going, only that he had to get away from that place. He eventually pulled into a gas station at dawn, his face ashen, hands shaking so violently he couldn't hold his coffee. He told no one the full truth. Who would believe him? But David changed after that night. He became withdrawn, haunted. He stopped driving alone at night. He started avoiding desolate roads, even in daylight. He saw shapes in the periphery, heard faint, phantom sounds. The experience, though brief, left a permanent scar on his psyche. He had faced the unknown, and the unknown had stared back, leaving him with a profound sense of foreboding. 2 weeks later, David received a call. His mother, who lived alone several states away, had passed away suddenly in her sleep. Aneurysm. Peaceful, they said. But David couldn't shake the feeling. He never told his family about the encounter, but in his mind, the connection was terrifyingly clear. The black dog had come for him to deliver a message of impending loss. What couldn't be explained was the entity itself. No footprints, no fur, no photographic evidence, just the chilling consistency of his account with those passed down through centuries. The cold, the silence, the glowing eyes, the crushing dread. And then there are the night walkers. Not always canine, but sharing a similar thread of ominous presence and an association with looming death. These are the shadow figures, the indistinct forms seen at the edges of perception, often described as tall, gaunt, and moving with an unnatural fluidity. They don't have glowing eyes in the same way, but their presence radiates a similar coldness, a similar sense of profound wrongness. Many report seeing these shadow entities shortly before a family death, a serious illness diagnosis, or a catastrophic event. They are silent watchers, often appearing in doorways, at the foot of beds, or just outside a window. Their form is vague, indistinct, almost like a hole in reality. But their intention, their meaning, is unmistakably clear. So the black dogs seem to be part of something larger, a tapestry of dark omens woven into the very fabric of human experience. They are not merely ghosts or cryptids in the traditional sense. They are something more fundamental, more tied to the existential dread of mortality itself. They exist at the crossroads of folklore, psychology, and perhaps a deeper, unseen reality. The lingering question that remains, our sixth and final curiosity loop, is this. Are black dogs just one specific manifestation of a broader category of entities that herald doom? Are they a specialized class of psychopomp? Or are they distinct, unique harbingers that merely operate in a similar way to other shadow entities? The sheer persistence of their specific form across time and culture suggests there is something unique and potent about the image of the monstrous black dog. Perhaps they are not separate entities, but rather different masks worn by the same underlying force, a force that emerges from the liminal spaces between life and death, warning us, or perhaps even guiding us, toward our inevitable end. The feeling they evoke is universal, the primal fear of the predator, but elevated to something supernatural, something that hunts not just the body, but the very soul. So, what do we conclude from centuries of consistent accounts, from the scorched churches of 1577 to the terrified driver in rural Ohio? Are these simply elaborate myths, tales designed to impart a moral lesson or explain the inexplicable? Or is there something more to the black dogs, the night walkers, and these pervasive death omens? My verdict, based on the sheer volume and incredible consistency of the stories, is that these aren't just stories. There is a persistent phenomenon at play. Whether it is a collective unconscious manifesting a primal fear, an interdimensional entity that occasionally breaches our reality, or something else entirely, is a mystery that continues to elude us. What still doesn't add up is the mechanism of their appearance. Are they projections of our own fears, summoned by the impending tragedy? Are they sentient beings that choose when and where to appear, actively delivering the omen? Or are they simply an inevitable consequence of death approaching, a ripple in the fabric of existence that becomes visible to certain individuals? The callback to our opening hook is unavoidable here. Across centuries, people describe the same impossible entity, immense, silent, with burning eyes, always appearing before tragedy or death. This isn't random. This isn't coincidence. The shared warning, the universal fear, the specific form, it points to something deeply embedded in the human experience, or perhaps something deeply embedded in the very structure of reality itself. The legends teach us that these creatures are not to be sought out, not to be challenged. To encounter one is to be marked, to be changed, and often to be warned of an impending darkness. They remind us that there are still edges to our reality, shadowed corners where things beyond our comprehension exist, waiting to emerge. And so,